Hello and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. I am Yael Tygiel. That's Taylor Gates. This is S Review. Okay, this is season 25, episode 11, Prima Nocta. We'll get to that in a second. If you need help, please reach out to RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. That spells hope. I'm jumping ahead, Taylor.
That's great. Let's go ahead and get this one over with.
Yeah. This episode did deal with assault and rape, and therefore it is serious. This after show podcast shenanigans is not serious. We're going to say some shit. Consider this your content warning. If you can't handle that, this isn't the show for you. If you're live in our chat, hello, welcome, join us. So happy you're here. Season 25, episode 11, Prima Nocta. Taylor, take it away.
What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Like, listen, I want Rollins back as much as the next person. But, like, why are we wasting an entire episode on this when she's not even back on the squad? I think you need to take some time to figure out what you want. What are we doing here? And then also the case itself. Like, in concept, it's interesting. But, like, the motive behind this was the dumbest, most insulting thing I've ever fucking seen. Well, I don't know if he's gonna watch it, but the acting was not my favorite either. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Flop. I'm so sorry. Flop. Maybe my least favorite of the whole season.
Wow.
I'm so sorry. I didn't like it at all. I paused because I kept getting bored and I played a little game on my phone because I was like, I don't care. Like, we're going in circles. No, I didn't like it. I'm so sorry. If anyone who's involved in this is watching, I'm sorry, but it wasn't for me. Okay.
Deanna in the chat says, preach, Taylor.
Yeah.
Doreen says, I was bored.
Yeah.
Oh, my face hurts from laughing.
Also, whatever. I'm going to keep going off. The first 5 minutes of this, like, I love it for the hardcore releasey shippers, but, like, this is what we're spending 5 minutes on? Are you kidding me? Like, I guess people ship it, but, like, this has never, to my knowledge, been, like, the most popular ship everyone is passionate about. So why are we wasting 5 minutes with pancakes? I don't care, and I didn't ask.
Anyway. Alexa in the chat says, yes, love Rollins, but they had to keep trying to justify her helpful with the case. Yeah. Sorry, her helping with the case. Taylor, I think you've been spot on with your thoughts today. Let's. Oh man, Deanna in the chat says Carisi reached Stabler's wife level. Hilarious. I hear my thoughts. I have no thoughts. This episode was actually, what a specific thing to target.
Like, that's interesting to me. That was the most interesting part. And
sure.
Okay, you know what? I'll point out some positives because
Why?
it wasn't the worst episode I've ever seen. I like Rollins Undercover too, always. That's always fun. I thought the Undercover situation was fun. I wish we focused more on that because we didn't really even see, like, the main events happening that was important. So I wish we would have seen that because I thought, that's a fun way to go about it. That's a nice way to tie in the fact that they're married to make it relevant because they were struggling for a minute there. So that was fun. And I really liked Jenna's bridesmaid. She had some great lines. And the idea of targeting this specific thing is so interesting. But you know what? It was a missed opportunity too, because I thought, okay, so, like, when you are getting married, like, bridal showers, bachelorette parties, all over Instagram, all over social media. I thought this guy was straight up looking at hashtags and locations and finding it that way because that's easy to do. And I was like, the flower shop connection, whatever. I thought it would have been so interesting if he was literally targeting people from, like, Instagram or something because it's very easy to look and find that information. But I thought that was interesting. But we like spent no time on it and went about it the most boring way possible.
I agree. I picked up that it was going to be a vendor of some sort, and the fact that they were like, the vendors don't overlap. I was like, vendors have subcontractors. Like, there's no way that you guys have investigated the vendors properly. So then when it turned out to have to do with the vendor, I went, no shit. But his entire thing, right? We have 3 victims. And it was so hyper specific that like it wasn't like they each did something that pissed him off, right? Because when asked why, his answer was, I got tired of waiting for my own best day. Which, if you are a sad, lonely person who is, sad, sorry, that sounded very rude. What I mean is, if you are sad because you are lonely to the point where you want to harm other people and destroy their happiness, then like show us more of that. Because what we saw was some guy who seemed to be fine with his job and have a pretty good home life where he lived with the sassiest old lady.
I did like her as
the
well.
Best character of the episode.
Yeah.
Mrs. Pritchard and her stories. He was a model tenant. She loved him more than her own grandkids. So then why would he be so like, then to me, these brides would have to have done something, not blaming the victim, let me clarify, but for some reason for him to attach himself to them.
The motive made no sense at all. And it just oversimplifies everything so much to the point that really bothers me, frankly. Like, yes, there are people who marriage is the most important thing, romantic love is the most important thing, but like, this isn't some sad dude for the most part. He has a community, he has a job that he likes, he has the woman he rents from. And so the fact that was just so oversimplified, and we like never learned anything about him of why that would be the case. Like, and I'm sorry, but it's a little bit, the fact that they made him heavier just feels so like, oh my God, of course you made that choice because he has to be sad and not find anyone. Like, shut up. That was obnoxious. And I know that you feel the same way about that, but the fact that they went out of their way to make that a thing is just like such a fucking tone deaf slap in the face that I thought was so irritating. And the fact they couldn't be bothered to develop him at all beyond those basic characteristics, just making him like a stereotype. Like, we're not in 2002 anymore. Like, grow up and learn some things.
Beautifully said. Like, I love you so much. I also think the fact that there was something while you were talking that I had and I've lost it now about his story.
What story, Yael? You didn't have one.
Exactly. Just this idea. He says, it's when they like are chasing him down in the flower mart and he says, sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing. And I was like, is that an excuse or is he hard of hearing? And now we're just going to gloss over whatever that has to do with anything. But also he was smart enough to take all of the evidence and strip the beds, but then also smart enough to ask for a lawyer. So like, he's not stupid. So then why would his crimes were a little bit more like sophisticated in that he knew that these people would be alone and broke into their house. Anyway, there's more to this guy that we just don't know. And I want to understand why.
Because like the thing is, we were faked out. I think we were meant to be faked out by the, groomsman.
You're the best man.
I thought I'm tired. The groomsman who was like, yeah, I mean, we didn't have any ill will towards them, but like not all of us are that lucky to like find our person. And so we're supposed to be faked out thinking it's him. And so essentially we get that motive through some completely unrelated guy. I'm like, why did we not just make it one of the groomsmen? Because that would be juicy because he was like integrated into their friend group. like this could have been like the big thing, like he did, you know, smaller crimes to other brides, but this was like the big finale because it was like the wedding day and the other stuff was preparing. Like there was so much they could have done with that, but making it some random guy, like what was the point of like that red herring when you're just going to use the same motive in a lazier way? I don't understand that at all.
I agree with you. Deanna in the chat says it felt slapped. I felt slapped by making him just black and heavy. Totally. Yeah, it's, I think also I'm going to say, I mean, it's such a specific like thing that he's targeting that I want to understand why, right? Because it's not that he's just attacking brides. He's specifically going after brides that he knows are going to be alone the night before their wedding. And he's doing it the night before the wedding, which also like, why?
Like maybe he got left at the altar. Maybe he's been doing all these weddings and he's seen some bridezillas. I don't know. I don't really care. Anything is better than what we got.
Wow.
Like that's still lazy and completely crazy, but like sometimes that can work for SVU. They didn't try at all. They had one line to explain everything that didn't work.
I just think before we discovered who it was and how, and like his reasoning, air quotes on the word reasoning, his motive, I want to understand like in terms of the rest of the case, as if I were an SVU detective, my thought would be, this is so hyper specific that he's targeting, because he's, again, it's not just brides, it is brides the night before their wedding. There's gotta be, like, that just doesn't make sense to me as a serial, air quotes on the word serial rapist. Like, he doesn't have this need that a serial rapist does. And these people aren't specifically the people he's, anyway, it reminds me of like when older women are attacked and then turns out the guy has mother issues. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we're missing that here. Yeah, Doreen says, could have been a good one, but they dropped the ball. Alexa agrees, definitely dropping the ball this season. Woof, people are not enjoying this. Let's talk about, what did I want to complain about? Okay. The detective that shows up that is like, hey, my fiance works in the lab and we are getting married and she's nervous and I had this case that I never filed the charges. This guy was a red herring. Like this guy, I was like, that would have been so much more interesting than him being a cop because of the fact that he stripped the bed. That would have been so much more interesting. And then it's a question of, you know, policing and why would this cop be doing this? Oh, because his life is shitty because he's a cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's what other complaints did I have?
Oh, I have the smallest, dumbest one ever.
Go on.
Okay, so when we're at the beginning, when Rollins is alone because all of her family has left the house, those lampshades were swinging. Did you notice that? I was like, they needed to do another take because those lampshades, both of them, she had two. She walked past one, swinging like crazy. Goes to the other one, swinging like crazy. I'm like, you need different lights because those are shoddy. And they just needed to do another take on that because it was so distracting to me. The lampshades, if you guys rewatch, pay attention to the lampshades. It bothered me so bad.
All right.
I told you it was the dumbest, smallest thing. Alexa, do you saw it too? Thank you, Alexa. It bothered me so badly.
You're not alone. All right, I want to talk about the Rollisi stuff. First of all, what is this pancake in the suitcase thing? And second of all, is a two-part question. Second point is not a question. Billy's a fucking snitch. They're raising a snitch.
Yeah.
Okay, go on. What's with the pancake thing? Is that a thing people do?
It literally feels like, this might sound so mean, but whatever, it's the truth. I feel like, you know, when you have like an inside joke on set or like between two people and then you try to like do it for a bigger audience and just like does not translate. I just sort of feel like that's what happened. It was some inside joke like on the SVU set and they wrote it in. Everyone's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? That's what it felt like to me, frankly. Okay.
That's actually a really great example. I could totally imagine it being like a joke in like Kelly's house that like because she has
Mm-hmm.
kids and shit, and they wrote it in. It doesn't make any sense to anybody.
Yeah, I was like, okay, but like, where's the background for that? I
Okay,
guess.
Daryl in the chat says there's always a snitch in a sibling group. Incorrect. There are no snitches in my sibling group. Um, and Deanna says Billy letting people know she's a cop's daughter.
Ayo.
Love it. Thank you all for indulging my calling out this child on being a snitch. When he offered her potentially be an investigator in the DA's office, why is that being shunned? That feels like something
Why
she would
are we
love.
doing anything that we're doing with Rollins right now? Literally. Like, Olivia's like, you need to find out what makes you happy. She's been gone for like a while now, and it clearly wasn't teaching, which also kind of feels like it came out of the blue. Like, yeah, she was like, oh, it's a different pace, whatever, but she seemed relatively happy there for the most part. And I saw this on Twitter, so I can't take credit, and I'm sorry, I should have written the username down, but people were like, there's no way she'd be getting offered tenure at this point. Give me a break. She's been there for 3 seconds. She like doesn't have a PhD in any of this stuff. There's just no way. And I'm like, that's really true though. Like, that's not realistic. So whoever said that, thank you. You're so correct.
Also, listen, I do not have children. And that seems like everyone should know this, but I have a question for those who do, and I know that people in our chat do have offspring. She retired on Friday. She had the whole weekend, so 2 days with her family that felt like a vacation, she said. It is now Monday, and she is all alone. The kids have been taken care of, and her husband is out of the house. To those who have children, tell me I'm wrong. She wouldn't one day be so happy, one day, to not have children, not even a whole day because they're going to come back after school. He's going to come back after work. A few hours to sit around. You're telling me that she can't enjoy what? Quiet in the bath?
Yeah.
Taking a shit with no one bothering her?
Yeah.
Eating with no one stealing her food?
For real. Yeah, that's a little insane.
I understand if it had been fine 2 days.
Yeah.
More likely a week, but like it hasn't even been 1 day. It's Monday morning.
Yeah.
Again, don't have offspring, but
Also,
I can only assume.
Yeah. I'm like, I was like, did she leave in the middle of the semester? I guess this timeline does match up with it being the end of the school year. And so that makes sense. But I was like, did she just like bail on her classes? That would have been crazy.
Doreen in the chat says, would have stayed on the couch. Alexa says, I would love to be able to stay home. Daryl says, even Rollins would take a couple weeks before losing it. I totally agree. I think genuinely, like, the kids left and there was still a mess on the counter, right? So she had something to do if she needed to physically do something.
That's another thing. Like, stay-at-home moms don't just, like, not do anything. There's plenty of shit to do. There's all the housekeeping. There's all of the child stuff that doesn't involve, like scheduling doctor's appointments, whatever. There's so much stuff. It was kind of disrespectful to stay-at-home parents, frankly, because they do a lot of stuff.
Totally. But also, your first day of freedom, you wouldn't get bored your first day.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, during Deanna in the chat, sorry, says all the groceries. Yeah, there's so much. I don't have kids, and on days where I have nothing to do, I got shit to do.
Yeah, my mom was a stay-at-home mom when we were younger, and like she had plenty to occupy herself. Like they work just as hard as people who have jobs. Frankly, like
it is a full-time job. Caretaking.
Yes, Exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly. One that I would not be good at. I would much rather be going into work than staying home and taking care of the house and the kids.
Anyway, anything else about this episode? Oh, here, more complaints about the case. So early in the case, it seems that the victims couldn't pick him out of a picture array, they said. Couldn't pick him out of a photo array. And then we did a lineup and they could. So why, if they can't, you know what I'm saying? Why?
Yeah, and
Also,
it's that situation.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. This
You
is
go
sort of off topic, but the episodes like this drive me nuts when there's multiple people they're trying to corroborate stories with, because like in this episode, they show us that whole conversation and we don't need to see it. All we need to do is have two detectives talking to each other saying, oh, yep, they corroborated that story, because it wastes time us hearing the same exact story 3 times. You know what I mean? That's like a terrible, because it sucks up 8 minutes of screen time where we could have been developing Leon. Like, why are we hearing 3 different people say exactly almost the same story when you can cut that down and have someone in one line give us that information? I think that's so irritating, and SVU has been doing it so much lately. I'm like, do you guys need to pad the time? Because I can think of so many other things you guys could develop instead of doing that.
I mean, to be fair, it'd be nice if Carisi got to take people to trial.
Yes, exactly.
We haven't seen that. Alexa asks a great question in the chat. Why did Mrs. Pritchard lie for Leon?
Those are besties.
Because
she's not a snitch, unlike Rollins' daughter.
Unlike Billy. Mrs. Pritchard's the best.
She's great.
There was another thing. Oh, I saw somebody in the on IMDb. There was somebody noted a goof, air quotes on that word because it's incorrect. And it was that in the lineup, Leon was number 4, and then when they did the voice lineup, he was number 3. They rearranged everybody because she saw them, so it would be unfair to keep them in the same order.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I want to go on to best lines because it's time. Because otherwise, we're just gonna shit on this episode some more. I mean, we'll continue to. We still have so much more to talk about. All right, best lines. I have 4, I guess.
Go for it.
Kind of. All right. Rollins says this to Finn when they're at the shooting range.
I like that scene too, I will be honest.
I loved that scene.
Yeah.
Because it got us Rollins and Finn again. Like, their friendship
was so good at the beginning. I loved them.
They're so good. I think, I mean, it's like Finn and Bruno, Finn and Munch, Finn does well with other people that are not Stabler.
Yeah.
That are not Velasco.
Yeah.
Anyway, she says, I've been unemployed for 1 day. I wouldn't read too much into it, which again reminds us it's been less than a day.
Yeah.
He says, have you litigated this with the counselor yet? I like his snark.
Yeah.
And then he also says, marriage is all about little white lies of omission, isn't it? And if that isn't a huge red flag about dating somebody.
We also had a line very similar to that like a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys are you guys okay in the writer's room? Like, do we need some counseling in there? Because there seems to be a very bleak idea of marriage going on.
Either somebody in the writer's room dated someone terrible, was with someone who was awful, or there's somebody who's bitter about being single.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hope it's the first one. I hope you're not bitter about being single, because being single is amazing.
And also, that could be some projection on this episode.
Totally. And then the best line of the entire episode, I think, we got outplayed by a retired burlesque dancer.
Slay.
All right, what you got?
Okay, I did, like I said, really liked The Bridesmaid. Nobody threw a drink like at my rehearsal dinner. Girl, say more. I want to know more about that. I didn't get a creep vibe from that, and I'm pretty on point with that. I thought that was funny. Our classic burlesque dancer. I made a bucket of popcorn and we watched my stories. I was like, that's me every night, actually, bestie. Like, we have the same routine going on.
Wait, I have a
The eldest,
question. I have
yeah,
a question.
yeah,
And this is for the chat as well. When somebody, probably elderly, but when somebody talks about watching their stories, in my mind, I picture soaps
same,
specifically.
yeah.
Okay, so that was my question: does stories refer to any TV show, or is it specifically soaps and maybe like nighttime soaps, so like dramas?
I think it's soaps, but I like it when people use that language to just talk about, like, when people are like, I'm going to watch my picture, you know? Like, I always think that's really funny. I like to take that language and apply it to myself. Like, I'm watching my stories. Like, SVU, that's my stories. We love
These
that.
are their stories.
These are their stories.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. The eldest granddaughter, the only smart one of the bunch, is a lawyer. I was like, whoa. Also, what my grandparents probably be saying after my sister graduates law school. Real. Phoebe's not going to be too thrilled about me getting pretend married. I really like that we got some more Phoebe mentions and that they're still going strong. They just don't want to get married, and I think that's great. And I really enjoyed that update. And finally, Rollins laid it on so thick and her undercover role. I just got my nails done for the big day tomorrow. I'd hate to ruin them. But that was such a great, like, she laid on crazy thick to the point where I was like, I don't know if this is like okay anymore, because it feels like you're really.
So we'll talk about that 1 second. Because yes, I do want to talk about the undercover stuff. First of all, everyone in the chat is agreeing that stories is referring to soaps.
Yeah.
And that night primetime soaps are also included in that. So like extreme dramas like ER or I would say Grey's Anatomy. Revenge, I felt like was such a soap. And then Daryl said something about when we were talking about the marriage is about little white lies of omission. Daryl says, some of you grew up without parents being far too honest, and I love you for that. I love that for you.
Say more.
Hilarious. Okay, let's talk about the undercover stuff because we definitely didn't, and we should have. I appreciated that Rollins kind of went rogue, which is such a Rollins move. I appreciated that Carisi was like, what is she doing? As though he forgot that she does this, which feels like a Carisi move. And that he points out that it was bordering on entrapment. And I appreciated that too. There was another thing I appreciated that was pointed out. He points out that he can't prosecute due to her involvement in the case. So like, as much as we complain about this episode, I appreciate that we did acknowledge and clarify that he can't prosecute this case, but also that her behavior 100% was too far. And it was clear, like, he was cagey, and if I were him, I'd be like, this feels like a setup.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if this is allowed at this point, but okay.
Especially because his MO was that he would have circled back at 3 a.m. Had she downplayed it, he 100% would have returned. But because of how aggressive she was, there's no way he was coming back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, she was. It's like she forgot how to do undercover work. She used to be so much better at it.
I mean, I feel like she's always kind of had this like crazy over the top vibe, but it usually just works better.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like we know she always takes it too far. I feel like this time it was too obvious.
Yeah, that's true. It was, but I don't know. I just loved her because she always plays the like fawning character so well. She's like, please. I don't know. I miss that. Like that's partially why I really miss Rollins, is because she always just makes it so like kind of silly in a way, because she just goes insane. And I think that's fun.
It's so interesting that you talk about how much you miss her because I have news. I don't know if anyone saw this article that came out, but Mariska was talking about Kelly and the show. And I have some quotes for you. So she says, Kelly is my favorite actor to work with. Kelly is my heart. It's a sore subject. I have a lot of say on the show as star and executive producer since season 15, but I didn't have enough there. So she told Variety that she's trying to get Kelly back on the show. And she says, I don't like not being listened to, especially when I'm right. The relationship was one of the most powerful things in television because you saw these two badass women so flawed and so there for each other. That's the full quote, people. That was released, on TV Line, to be clear.
Well, she's been talking a lot about her experience, which is so interesting. Because I think she was honored at like the Power of Women. I think that's maybe where that interview was with. And so she's been doing press for that. But it's interesting because it does sound like there were things that she wanted that she did not get, and she's not afraid to speak about them. And I agree. And I think that, I don't know. The whole Kelly situation is so interesting because I don't really understand how they're going about it, if that makes sense. Like, are they setting up her to return as a series regular next season, which is why they're like kind of being gun shy about it, because like she easily could have just rejoined the team in this episode. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a very TV-ified, too speedy, whatever, but it's television. So they easily could have been like, let's start the process of you getting back on here, whatever.
Well, so to be fair, there was, the whole reason she was at the gun range was to like to get the process going if she were to want to return.
Yeah, but they didn't make it clear that that's what she wants. You
know
what I mean?
I think that's the thing, is I think that I interpret it as, right, we know that Mariska wants her back. We know that Kelly wants to come back. It seems like the writers, based on the way this episode was written, would like her to come back. But to give her a storyline that makes sense, she's going to take some time to consider her options and maybe do something between now and coming back. Also, because this was a shorter season due to the strikes, I assume that financially affected whether she could come back. So it's possible that if she were to come back next season, we've now established that she started this process, that they did not essentially take away her ability to be a cop.
I think I agree with you. I think for me, where I'm bumping is the fact that Olivia's like, you need some time to consider your options. That's a double beat. We've had her having this conversation a few seasons ago. We've had Rollins make the choice, and her choice was that she's out. And so she must have considered all of these possibilities. So it feels very weird how, again, we're like, you need to make sure this is really what she's had this time to think. You can think about your life while you're teaching. Like, that's not crazy. You know what I mean? It feels like we've been there, done that. And so why are we doing it all over again? There's got to be a different thing to bring her back because I've seen this before,
I totally get what you're saying. I would like to see what she does with this time, right? Like, what is she going to do? Will she be an investigator in the DA's office? Because when she's doing the undercover, Carisi says to her, there's a spark in your eye that I haven't seen since you left SVU. So like, he knows that she wants to be a cop, and he talked her, remember, not to be a dick, but he's the one who talked her into being a professor. Everyone sees she wants to be a cop. She came back to have lunch with Benson and decides that she's going to help with the case. Her aim is still sure. Like, I think we all know where it's headed. I'm interested to see what it is she does between. I'm assuming she's returning, right?
Yeah.
Like, this seems like she has to return now.
Right. I think my problem is, why are we like, I don't know if this word is okay to use, but back in Indiana, people say it all the time, why are we pussyfooting around And not just saying, yes, I'm coming back. I want to come back. Let's start the paperwork. We'll give you 2 months to just like make sure everything's arranged. You know what I mean? Why are we having it be this nebulous thing when we all pretty much know it's probably going to happen? What are we doing?
I got real distracted.
Are we allowed to say pussyfooting?
I'm pretty sure you can. Why wouldn't you be able to say pussyfoot?
I don't know. I just like I got scared. I was like, is that something that really is not an okay term? It's like a very rural Indiana term, which is why I got a little scared. I was like, I don't know.
All right. I until told otherwise, pussyfooting is allowed. But I personally would prefer that we use the term dicking around.
Okay, sure.
Because I feel like, not to go off on another tangent, but I feel like we constantly use terms that are about female anatomy for negatives and male anatomy for positives. And I think that we should switch that. Therefore, we were dicking around.
Yeah.
Because when I pussyfoot, you love it.
I guess I don't know what pussyfooting really means. You know what I mean? Like, where did that originate?
Yeah, what's the origin of pussyfoot?
Yeah, because I'm like, it has pussy in it, but like the footing thing kind of is messing me up. And like, what does it actually? I know like what it means, but like, where did it stem from? I don't know its origins. I think that's an issue. You know?
I'm looking. There's a whole other conversation happening in the chat.
Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, you talk about that while I look up pussyfooting.
Yeah, so basically, Mariska also called out Dick Wolf for being anti-EO, which is true because she has wanted a kiss to happen for a long time. She's wanted it to happen. So it is a little bit... I think that's where some of the pain point is because people are sick of the EO teasing people who ship and people who don't ship because it's just like an endless cycle of almost there. And I feel like that kind of illuminates the power struggle, so to speak, between Dick Wolf and Mariska because one of them does have more power and it's not Mariska. I'll let you know that right now. But she is also like the face of it and who people think of when they think of it. So I think that's very interesting and why and part of the reason why everyone's getting a little annoyed is because there's this thing happening behind the scenes.
Thank you for explaining the conversation happening in the chat.
Sure.
And Daryl, yes, your magician's reference is yes. As to the answer about pussyfooting, it seems to be totally fine to use. There doesn't seem to be any history to it.
Okay. Someone said, Alexa said it was pussycat, like a pussycat, which I think does make sense because they're kind of skittish.
Yeah, and they're stealthy. There's like a stealth.
So maybe our minds were just really dirty.
Regardless,
cats.
The fact that anyway, that's a whole other discussion about pussycats and other types. Anyway, on that note, I wonder what segment is next.
Oh wow.
Shower thoughts.
Yeah, you can do this one.
Okay. Well now my shower thoughts are about pussyfooting.
Hey.
For our friends who are listening in the shower or the bath.
Ooh.
Anyone who's listening or a pool, if you're
near a body of water, yeah.
If you are underwater or in the water or getting wet,
like drinking water even, let's just expand it.
Hell yeah. This is for you. I appreciate how much our live chat not only is having their own discussion and joins our discussion, but I love that we can be so silly on this show. I had a shower thought earlier this week and went, I should write that down and save it for the SVU podcast. And then I didn't, which is such a me thing to do. I'm very excited to get to our What Did We Learn segment for the first time ever. So Unless you have anything to add, I might
No,
conclude our shower thoughts.
Yeah, let's jump the gun. Let's do that.
All right. Thanks. Scrub up, friends. All right. What did we learn? I learned a lot about the Prima Nocta concept.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing that Ron says was droit de seigneur. I'm going to butcher things because it's Latin. So bear with me. Which translates to right of the Lord. And then there's another term that got shortened to Prima Nocta, and that other term I'm not even going to bother trying to say, but comes to right of the first night. So allegedly, and that's important, allegedly, in medieval Europe, it allowed the feudal lords, the kings and princes, to have the right to have sex with any female subject in their kingdom, especially on the night of her wedding. That said, historians have looked into it, and this may not have actually existed. This may not have been a thing at all. That said, this concept sounds very, very much like something somebody would claim just so that they could do whatever they wanted. Yeah. But also, there was another article that I found that was talking about how people would claim that others did this in a way to make themselves look better. So they would threaten people and go, well, you don't want to be one of them. At least we don't do this. So whether this was an actual thing or not, it evolved into a tool that people used either to justify their actions or to threaten people.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that is what I learned about Prima Nocta. I do appreciate that in and of itself is a fascinating concept. And kind of feel like this episode would have been so much better if that was the focus as opposed to whatever this other bullshit was, right? Like if it was like a landlord who was like, I have the right to sleep with everyone in my building.
Crazy. Or just some like rich, like, you know, when people are like royalty, but they're like 12th in line to the throne or whatever. That could have been so funny and crazy.
Sure. Or like a guy who makes wedding dresses and was like, I have the right to brides for whatever reason.
Yeah, that would have made so much more sense and been so much more interesting.
Yeah, because the idea of, as watching this episode, me and my watch companion, we're discussing the idea of a serial rapist who targets something so randomly specific. Like, I only target brunettes who are 5'4.5" on the third Thursday of each month. Like,
you described me, so chill out. That's a little scary.
You're 5'4.5"?
I think I'm like maybe 5'5", but I'm close to that.
Anyway, Daryl knows exactly who my watching mate is. He says, Tari, we miss you.
We do miss Tari. Or if someone was like, particularly like you said, following, like knew about this concept and was following it, that would have been so much more interesting. The fact that it was unrelated is weird.
Deanna in the chat says, or the detective, cause of white knight syndrome. I like that. That would have been so much more interesting.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
The same thing I had written down is about that. I didn't know it as in depth as you did. You did some little extra research, which was cool. But I learned that, and then I learned that I am allowed to say pussyfooting.
Hell yeah!
Thank God.
Although on our podcast and in my life, really, as Daryl pointed out earlier in the chat, I'm doing the Marga for Magicians approach, which is twisting our language for the better.
Yeah, but I don't want to say dicking ever.
That's fair. Yeah, but so when people are like, grow some balls, I steal from Margot from the Magicians and I say, ovary up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Facts.
All right. Is there anything else we wanted to say about this, whatever this was that we watched?
Let's hope it's better next week.
Oh, I have some bad news.
Uh-oh.
For those who didn't see the promo, next week is going to be about Sykes' sister and that story. It honestly, from the promo alone, reminded me of the Deborah Messing episode.
That was kind of a slay.
But why was that one a slay?
I don't remember. I just remember liking
Because
it.
Sonia Paxton.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I guess they were like, oh, we showed real Rollins this episode, and now we have to go back to Walmart Rollins next week.
So funny. Alexa has our organized crime update in the chat. Thank you. Stabler's undercover job ends in arrest of a militia leader who gives up info to catch the head of the snake. I don't know what that means. His little brother Joe Jr. seems to have connections to the big boss. Eli teases big news for his dad.
What kind of big news?
It says teases, so maybe we don't know yet.
What do you think? Not even watching OC. What is your first assumption?
I hope Eli comes out.
Oh, I was thinking girlfriend pregnant. So we were on the same wavelength, but very different ones at the same time.
The opposite sides of it.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know if he has a girlfriend. I don't watch. But I don't know.
I mean, there was also the episode that crossed over that pisses me off to think about, where he wakes up with a dead girl.
Yes.
So my thing of him coming out seems real left field. But Alexa agrees with you that pregnated a girl. Oh, and he has a girlfriend. A hot girlfriend.
I was like, she used an adjective, Yael. Say the
Sorry.
adjective.
I just saw has and girlfriend. And so
Girlfriend.
Thank you, Alexa. Who's the hot girlfriend? Either character name or actress name. We'll look her up. Yeah. Well, we think she's hot. How old is she?
Well, she's old enough to be pregnant. So probably, presumably on purpose.
How old's Eli? Is he an adult yet?
Yeah. Well, he must be in his early 20s now.
Not the actor, the character.
Well, presumably they're around the same age.
Deanna says her age.
1 to 10. Yeah, how hot are we talking?
What's the character? I'm looking it up. Law and Order. Oh man, Friends. Eli's girlfriend. Law and Order. Oh, the internet. Tell me who she is.
Who is this woman?
All right.
Yeah.
Becky? Her name is Becky. Hold on. I'm on the organized crime IMDb. Okay, fuck. Come on, internet. Okay,
Becky.
So we got Becky. Give me a sec. I'll find out who the actress is.
I'm just Googling Law and Order Becky.
Organized crime.
Yeah, you're right. Becky.
Yeah, just I can name multiple episodes of the Becky.
Who is this? Who is this? Who are you? Who are you? Becky. Just give us a picture of Becky. She must not have been in it very much because she ain't coming up on images.
How are we supposed to know if she's hot or not?
Give us some more info about Becky. Hold on. IMDb. Okay. Becky.
She's been in one episode.
Yael Scott.
She's not on the wiki. Yeah, I know.
Oh, she is hot. Yep.
What's actress?
Yael Scott. Kiaya and Scott. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Watch this be completely unrelated, Becky. Oh no! Here it is. Organized crime. I'm on her Instagram now.
Friends, 10.
She's really cute. Okay, you were right. You didn't lead us astray.
On that note.
Wow, we just did some internet sleuthing for all of you guys. I found her Instagram live on the show. See how easy it is to find people on the internet?
Yeah,
that's how this episode could have gone.
Yeah. All right. We've gone off the rails. Feel free to let her know that she's a 10.
Because Alexa has her personal connection to her.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, if you're watching, which there's no way you are, we love you.
And we're sorry. Alexa says it right. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Thanks. All right. On that note, Taylor, if people want to harass you on the internet, where are you?
I'm on Twitter on alphabet_and. I'm also on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_. I also write for Collider. So if you want to read so many reviews that I've done the past couple of weeks, or my interview with Kevin Kane, that's still up there too. And it always will be. It's evergreen, baby. You just Google my name, Collider, and it'll come up.
And Moneybags.
And Moneybags, yeah.
Taylor Gates and Moneybags.
Yes.
Amazing. I'm Yael Tygiel. I'm on Instagram at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. And if you want to see about my new obsession with filthy romance books,
New?
It's newish.
You don't have like 2 years.
If you want to see my obsession with filthy, like the darker the better, I'm ashamed. I read something last night and I went, well, I found a new line. It's a Good Little Library Mouse on Instagram. Good Little Library Mouse. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Everybody's checking out Becky now.
We just like skyrocketed her on IMDb, and her Instagram is about to gain. She's like, "What happened? Us. We happened."
Okay. Bye, everybody.